My old man came over from Italy, and I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Back in the 70s, and I know you're like, really? You're that old? No. Back in the 70s, the steel industry of Pittsburgh was crashing down around us. And I don't know if anybody seems to remember that period of time, but it was a pretty horrific time. And if anybody understands why that happened, it happened because the arrogance of the US steel industry at the time was such that these juggernauts of steel dominated the steel industry for hundreds of years in terms of basically the backbone of American industry, were so arrogant that they were incapable of fundamentally understanding that new ways of working were coming down the pike. Now, the segue to, if we jump ahead to today, is there are a whole group of organizations and institutions. In fact, 85% of companies today have fundamentally not reinvented the way that we're working, despite all of the crazy disruption that's happened. I mean, you look at what happened during the pandemic. We changed where we worked for a period of time, but not necessarily how we worked. So you go back to the 70s again, there was a country that had curiosity. This is a country that felt that there was a possibility of beating the Americans and understanding new ways of working, and it was Japan. And Japan dug in and understood that the frontline worker was fundamentally the individual who could re-engineer every single day what they were doing, and as a result, continuously improve the process of work. And as a result of that, they were able to provide a lower cost product and a higher quality at the same time, kicking the ass of the American steel industry. Now, the reason this is a passion of mine is because I was a kid in an Italian immigrant's family who came over here to the United States with a hope and an aspiration of better life. And what we found was destitution. My dad was unemployed most of my life. My mom had to become a cleaning lady. For those of you who might have read my first book, Never Eat Alone, I had to go get a job. Thank you very much for that polite applause. I had to go get a job at the local country club just to make ends meet in the family. And that stuck in my head. And I said at the time, I would grow up someday and I would fix American manufacturing. I thought that that would be becoming governor of Pennsylvania and president of the United States. And with that, I could fix American manufacturing. Well, I got involved in politics along the way. My mentor got indicted, but that's a whole different story. And I decided that government was not going to be the way to do that. I thought maybe I would be a titan of industry. I'd grow up and I'd run a big company. And I went into industry. I was the chief marketing officer of Deloitte, tried to figure out which industry I wanted to be in. And then I went over to hospitality. I was the chief marketing officer at Starwood Hotels and Resorts and ran sales there. But when I left there, it was interesting. I watched two companies, Deloitte and Starwood, going head to head in terms of what I believe high-performing team was. Deloitte at the time were the lowest of the big eight. And as a result, we were someday going to be as good as, at the time, Accenture and McKinsey, et cetera. But we were the lowest of the big eight. And at Starwood Hotels, we were just creating from scratch. But I watched what happened to those two organizations. At Deloitte, we were a band of brothers and sisters taking hills together, going around the world, with love and candor and wrestling ideas